Dear child, there is a big problem with how you have been thinking about your situation, and I want to talk about it right away, because it's making it hard for you to see clearly what's going on in your life, and how strong the evidence is that I am here, that I am faithful, and that I am actively involved in the things that matter most to you. The limitation is the edge of what you can see. Making assumptions about what you can see as if it were the whole story of what is really happening is what distortion does. Seeing what you can see as the same thing that is really there. Since there is no visible proof of my work, I can say that the work itself does not exist, and coming to the conclusion that something you can't see isn't happening is one of the most consistent and significantly wrong conclusions someone can come to when they are dealing with something really hard and unresolved. It deserves the kind of specific, honest, and personally directed attention that I want to give it in this message. I already have what you can't see in my hands. That is the main point of this message. And I want you to understand it not as a general theological affirmation that applies to everyone in a vague and reassuring way, but as the exact word that is meant for the exact situation of the exact person reading these words, no matter what their honest inner state is during this exact and difficult season. What you can't see, not something that someone else can't see in a general and theoretical way. The specific and unique aspects of your situation that you can't see from where you are in the middle of the problem. The aspects that you can't get to from the inside of what you're going through. Those things that are really being worked on in places you can't see. Everything, already, before you read these words, before the prayer was said, and before the most recent morning. The weight of what still needs to be done was heavy, already, being held by me with all the strength of my character, my loyalty, my love, and my full knowledge of everything that is at stake and everything that is really happening in the situation in ways that your limited view can't reach. First, I want to talk about the specifics of how limited human sight is. Knowing what you can't see from where you are is the first and most important step toward trusting that what you can't see is being held. It's not a sign of weakness that the person can't see what's going on in the invisible dimensions. This is a natural limitation of the human point of view, the real and unchangeable limit on the ability of a limited person to understand a situation that is truly complex and multidimensional, and which is always more than what the limited person can fully explain from the inside. That's right where you are. You are inside it and seeing it, from the certain and limited point of view that the inside view offers, with the certain and limited information that the inside view offers. What you see from that point of view is real. The trouble is real. What's not clear is real. The pressing is real. It's real that I can't see any evidence of my work in the specific dimension I wanted. The inside view really does show everything, but it's not the whole picture. It's the inside view, and the whole view looks very different from what the inside view shows you as the full story. The next step is active alignment. Now that we've reached this point, I want you to make a strong statement to heaven if you are ready to stop letting the edge of your sight control your peace. Enter, I trust what I can't see because He holds it in the space below. Tell the Almighty that you are stepping out of the lack of sight and into the fullness of His faithfulness. Let that be your personal promise to the unseen reality. There are specific things that you can't see from where you are, because I want to name them as specifically as possible, because naming what is really there but can't be seen from your point of view is one of the most useful things I can say to someone who has been taking the lack of visible evidence as the whole picture. You can't see what's going on inside the heads of the people whose choices and lives are really making your situation worse. Working in the freedom of free people, whose freedom is part of what makes the situation really complicated and really impossible to solve with just your work. You can't see the provision that is really moving toward you because it hasn't arrived yet in a way that you can see it from where you are now, where there is a lack or an injustice. In parts of the situation that are below the level of what you can see right now, you can't see the healing that is taking place. These changes that are happening below the surface can't be seen or felt from the inside during the times when they are happening the most. They're taking place. I already have them in my hands. The holding and working are real, and what is really going on below the surface is more present and more important than what can be seen from the inside of the situation. Dear beloved, if this video reached you today, know this: God sent it. He does not make mistakes, and He does not lead His chosen ones by accident. We want to be transparent with you, family. These videos bring us no income. Every word, every prayer, every message, created purely as an offering to God and a gift to you. It is your generous hearts, your small seeds of love, that make this ministry possible. Without you, this voice goes silent. So from our hearts to yours, thank you. God sees every gift, and God will not forget. There is a family He is calling you into, brothers and sisters who arrived broken, arrived searching, and found not just answers, but belonging, a place where the chosen gather, where the faithful are known by name. God says, come home. The link is in the description. Your family is waiting, beloved. You were always meant to find us. This is something I want to talk about in the context of the faith that the not seeing needs. Because believing in things you can't see is one of the most difficult, expensive, and important kinds of faith a person can have when they are going through really hard and really unresolved things. There is no real faith in someone who only trusts what they can see. It is the evaluation of the evidence that is available and the trust that comes from that. Faith that I'm talking about when I say trust me with what you can't see means choosing to trust that I will work in the invisible dimensions based on my character, rather than the visible evidence of my work at that moment. This choice is specific, costly, and truly faith-based. This kind of faith, the kind that chooses to trust before there is visible proof of the working in the specifically hoped-for dimension, is the kind that the invisible working needs the person whose life it is happening in to have. And it's not easy. When someone says, I can't see what's happening, and I trust that what I can't see is really being held by the person who sees it all, they are expressing a unique, costly, lonely, and sometimes really scary kind of trust. Before I end this first part of the message, I want to say something specific and personal to the person who is reading it. These are the specific things in your life that you can't see getting fixed right now. There are certain unresolved issues that show up in your situation as proof that I am not there, am not doing anything, or do not care about the specific and expensive issues that are getting in the way of the people you love and the life you are trying to live honestly. Those specific things are not hidden from me. I am not ignoring them, and they are not things that I am just being allowed to happen. I already have them in my hands, each and every one of them in particular. I have full knowledge of everything that is really at stake, and everything that is really happening in dimensions that your perception can't reach. I also have full love for you and the people who are connected to you. I can hold and work with what you have brought to me and what you haven't thought to bring yet. Things you can't see are already being held. and they are really being held and working. And the visible manifestation of what is already happening in the invisible dimensions is coming at the time, in the way, and in the form that, based on what I know about the situation, is best for everyone. Trust the person who already sees and holds everything that you can't see. Type, I trust what I can't see, because he holds it in check. That should be your statement of specific, faith-based trust in the invisible workings of the one who sees and holds what you can't see or understand from the inside of the specific unresolved situation you are currently in. And if this message has helped you find your way, made you stronger, or seen your path more clearly, please like, subscribe, share, and support this ministry through the link below. That way, other people can get this message at the right time. I'd like to take you back to a few specific times in the lives of my people when the invisible working that had been real, active, and present the whole time was suddenly and clearly shown. When the curtain between what could be seen and what couldn't be seen was pulled back just enough for the person who had been trusting the invisible to see that they had been right to trust it. Take a look at the exact moment in the 6th chapter of the 2nd book of Kings, when Elisha's servant went outside in the morning and saw the enemy army surrounding the city. If you're on the inside looking out and see a real threat, the servant's answer was honest and easy to understand. "Oh no, Master, what should we do?" But Elisha had a different answer. "Don't be scared. Those who are with us are stronger than those who are with them." The prayer then went, "Lord, please open his eyes so he can see." The Lord then opened the young man's eyes, and he saw that there were horses and fire chariots all around Elisha on the mountain. There was a lot on the mountain. It was the army that couldn't be seen, not brought into being by the prayer, already there, already in the area, already keeping safe. The servant couldn't see them until his eyes were opened. Even though the servant couldn't see them, the fire horses and chariots were still real. In the moment before the eyes opened and the moment after, the invisible protection was just as real, present, and involved with the specific situation. Think about Jacob's very specific and personal experience at Bethel as well. He went to sleep that night while he was trying to avoid the effects of breaking up with his brother. And while I was sleeping, the vision came to me. The ladder, the angels, the going up and down, and the clear personal word from the person who was at Bethel. "I am with you and will keep you wherever you go." Following this was the clear and shocking statement Jacob made when he woke up. "Surely the Lord is in this place and I did not know it." He had no idea. It was real to feel it. Being there was real. The presence had been there the whole night, through the rough ground, the doubt, the broken relationship, and the uncertain future. He didn't know it at first, but then he did. It's not that the presence started when the vision did. It's that the perception grew to include the presence that had been there all along. Dear family, if this prayer touched something in you today, that was not emotion. That was God. He is inviting you to go deeper. Our community exists for people exactly like you, those who hunger, who seek, who refuse to stay shallow in their faith. The link below is your next step. Every gift you sow into this mission keeps this light burning for thousands of chosen ones around the world. God sees every seed. God blesses every giver. Come, family. Your place is waiting. Also, think about what happened in the 3 days between the cross and the resurrection from the disciples' point of view. They were going through grief, confusion, and the real, personal destruction of people whose hope had been pushed beyond what it could hold. When you were going through those 3 days, they felt like the days of the end. And during those 3 days, something bigger and more life-changing was happening in the parts of reality that the disciples couldn't see. This was different from anything that had happened in the ministry's visible parts over the previous 3 years. During those 3 days, the disciples were not able to see it. Something that had been going on in the invisible realm for 3 days was just as real and present on the second day as it was in the morning of the third day, when it became visible. The last view was from the inside of the second day. Something more and more important happened on the second day than what could be seen from the inside could explain. There is an invisible part to your situation. You are seeing real things when you talk about the specific and difficult, unresolved and important things that are pressing you right now. And the part of your situation that you can't see is also real. In the same way that the one who was in the mountain around Elisha, the ground around Jacob while he slept in Bethel, and the sealed tomb on the second day of the 3 days is also in your situation. He is there already and has something in his hands that you can't see. You don't know it, but the Lord is there. However, the inside view may not include the invisible aspect. That is the most important part of the full truth of what is happening in this season. Write in the comments, His invisible hand is moving in my life right now. Please let that be your statement of specific, faith-based trust in the invisible part of your specific situation. Choose to recognize that the Lord is there, even if the inside view doesn't yet show the presence that is as real, active, and specifically engaged with your need as the servant's eyes weren't open in the morning to see the horses and chariots of fire. I want to talk about the specific nature of the holding, or what it means that I am holding something that you can't see. This is because saying, I am holding something that you can't see, is most useful and reassuring when you know what that something is and how it works, rather than just saying that someone you can trust is in charge of it. The holding is complete, which is the first thing that makes it unique. When I hold what you can't see, I hold it completely, not just the part that is easiest to see from where I stand. This is because I don't have the human view that can only see certain parts of a situation from a certain point of view. I see it all, in all of its dimensions. The ones I can see and the ones I can't. The ones close up and the ones far away. I have everything. The second unique thing about the holding is that it is unique. What I mean by hold what you can't see in your specific situation is not a general category of hard situations of which your situation is an example. Please hold your specific situation, including the specific people involved, the specific history that has led to it, the specific stakes that make it important to you, and the specific fears that come with the specific outcomes. It's clear what the holding is because the situation is clear. For each person, it is tailored to their unique needs and the circumstances of their life. The third unique thing about the holding is that it stays the same. Being held doesn't begin when you tell me about the situation during the specific act of prayer or the specific moment of surrender. Before things started to take the shape they do now, they have been going on all the time. They have been going on through seasons when things weren't as bad, and during seasons when prayer was stronger and trust was less broken. There was a hold in the gaps. The holding stays the same because the person who holds it stays the same. The holding's fourth unique quality is that it has a purpose. Holding doesn't mean putting things away inactively while the real work waits for a better time to start. The holding is the work itself. Holding means that the person doing the holding is actively and specifically involved with what is really happening in the situation as it really is. Getting to know the person you love on the inside. Getting to know the situation's structural aspects. Working on the order and timing of what is happening. The fifth unique thing about the holding is that it loves. The father is holding the child with all the love he has for that child. The father knows the child by name and is involved with that child's specific situation. Love that sees every sparrow fall and counts every hair on its head. Love that was willing to go to the cross rather than let what the cross stopped from happening stay unaddressed. The weight of the relationship that hasn't healed yet that you've been holding on to is what the holding is. Being in that relationship is held by the specific, active, and purposeful holding of the one who is working on the inside of everyone in the relationship in ways that your carrying the weight could never reach. This relationship is being held in a more specific, complete, and purposeful way than it was when you were carrying its weight. Give it to me. What is being held is the provision that hasn't arrived yet for the specific need. To hold someone who is making decisions that scare you means to hold them. Holding them with the unique, personal, and fully invested love of the one who loves them more than you do and is working for their freedom in ways that your worrying and watching can't. Type, I think he's working, even though I can't see it in the comments. That is your statement of specific, faith-based trust in the full, specific, continuous, purposeful, loving holding of the one who holds what you can't see in this very moment. Right now, I want to talk about waiting, because trusting something that can't be seen is most often felt in the specific inner position of someone who is really waiting for something that hasn't arrived yet in the visible form. While waiting, there are at least two very different feelings that come up inside of you, and the difference between them is big and important. The first type of waiting is that of someone who doesn't know what's going on in the invisible part of their situation. This kind of waiting has the same quality on the inside as someone who is pausing before they know which way the situation is going to go. People who really believe that something is going on in the invisible part of their situation are waiting in a second type of way. This type of waiting is not like being suspended. It's more like the expectant patience of someone who is waiting for the arrival of something that is actually happening instead of waiting for the uncertain start of something that may or may not have begun. This message wants you to wait for the second type of thing, the kind of waiting that is based on the specific, personal, and proven faith that the one who holds everything is already holding what you can't see, that the invisible work is already being done in parts of your situation that you can't see from the inside. That something that is really and actively happening in the invisible part of your current situation while you wait is actually moving toward the visible part, which will eventually let you see from the inside what is really happening between you and the outside world. The specific and practically life-changing change that understanding the invisible working makes in the inner posture of the person who is waiting is the change from experiencing the waiting as the lack of what is needed to experiencing the waiting as the visibility of what is being prepared. When someone is waiting for something they need, they often feel anxious because they don't have it yet. When something is being prepared but can't be seen yet, the waiting tends to fill the inside with something different. Someone who knows that the manna is coming because it always comes, has a clear and patient expectation. There is something real going on in you while you wait. The first thing that waiting does is make trust stronger. The trust that has been built through long periods of silence and has stayed in the waiting position despite the real pressure of not seeing for a long time has a certain depth, rootedness, and genuine establishment. That trust that has never been built over such a long period of time does not have. The second thing that the waiting is doing is giving me a clear and practical understanding of my faithfulness that can only come from waiting for a long time. The third thing that waiting does is make you care about other people who are also waiting, which is something that only someone who has been waiting for a long time can really do. He is already working in the comments while I wait. So let that be your statement of the specific and expected patience of someone who is waiting while knowing that the invisible work is really happening. That the waiting is not the empty space of real absence, but the working that is already moving toward the visible expression that the waiting is waiting for, but can't see yet. Before you go, hear this. God is not done with what He started in you through this video. There is a home He is calling you into, a place where chosen ones pray together, carry one another, and grow in faith every single day. Find us through the link in the description, and if your heart is moved to sow, trust that God honors every seed planted in faith. We will see you on the other side, beloved. Right now, I want to talk about prayer because it is the only way for someone who can't see what is being held to interact with the person who is holding it. The prayer doesn't start the work that can't be seen. I'm going to say that very clearly and directly because the most common misunderstanding of prayer hides this specific and life-changing truth. Bring the specific situation to my attention during the specific act of prayer. You are not starting me to deal with the specific situation from a place where I wasn't dealing with it before. The prayer wasn't brought to me until I was already there. I'm not made aware of anything new by the prayer that I wasn't already aware of. The prayer changes how the person praying connects with the holding and the work that was already going on. While someone prays, they become consciously and genuinely involved with what is already happening in the invisible part of the situation they are praying about. When someone prays, they are consciously aligning themselves with the work that is already being done. There is a unique and personal moment when the person praying looks at the person who is already holding what they can't see and acknowledges that the person is holding and working in the holding and working of the specific need, the specific person, or the specific situation to the person who is already holding all of these things in the invisible dimension of the full reality of the situation. This can be a very costly act. A three-part prayer includes recognizing the presence, being honest and specific about what is being brought, and releasing it into the hands that are already holding it. This is the specific and intimate engagement with the invisible working that this message is talking about as the main way for the person who can't see what is being held to stay in real personal connection with the person who holds it. The prayer does not make the invisible work happen. It links the person praying to the work that is already happening behind the scenes, and the connection kept through the consistent, specific, and sometimes costly practice of prayer that recognizes, names, and releases tends to produce in the praying person the specific and genuine qualities of trust, peace, and expectant patience that someone who is not in that connection tends to find truly unavailable in the truly unresolved season of the not yet visible working. In the comments write, "My eyes may not see, but my faith does." In your prayer, Acknowledge the presence and name what is being brought and released into the hands that are already holding what the eyes can't see right now. Let that be your declaration of the specific and faith-based engagement with the invisible holding. And if this message has helped you find your way, made you stronger, or seen your path more clearly, please like, subscribe, share, and support this ministry through the link below. That way, other people can get this message at the right time. At this point, I want to talk about the future because it is one of the most important and consistently scary parts of the invisible. The time in the person's life that hasn't come yet, when they are navigating the present while being fully aware of how uncertain they are about what the future holds. Here's what I want to say about the future that you can't see, the future that is truly yours, the unique season of your unique life that hasn't happened yet, is already being held in the invisible dimension by the one who holds everything. This holding of the future is just as specific, complete, active, purposeful and loving as this holding of the present. Before the future season comes to the present with its needs that the provision will have to meet, I am making plans for how to meet those needs. I'm getting relationships ready for the next season before that season comes along with its own set of relationship needs. People are being placed in the invisible future to meet the specific relational needs of the specific future season of the specific life. This includes the specific person, the specific community, the specific mentor, or the specific companion that the specific future season of the specific life will require. I'm making plans for openings and chances in the next season that haven't been made public yet in this season. In the future, there is an invisible door that will open to the specific calling, contribution, or work that the person is being formed for right now. This door is already there before it can be seen in the present. One specific and faith-based way to deal with anxiety about the future that hasn't happened yet is to trust the person who is already there, planning what will happen, instead of worrying about the future that is being imagined as the worst-case scenario. This is the interior movement that directly addresses anxiety about the future that hasn't happened yet. As soon as the uncertainty is gone, there is no longer any worry about what might go wrong. Instead, there is trust in what might happen. The uncertainty has still not been cleared up. The future is still truly invisible. What changes is the mind's main way of figuring out what the unseeable future holds, either the worst-case scenario of anxiety or the held future of the person who is already there, planning what the future will really bring. People have already made plans for him to do something with me in the comments. That should be your statement of specific, faith-based trust in the held future. It should be your choice to live in the present with confidence in the future that is already being planned and held by the person who is already there, instead of worrying about the future that your worst-case imagination is making up in the invisible space of the not yet arrived. Now I'm going to talk about the specific and most personal part of the invisible holding that most of the people reading this message are aware of. The invisible working in the lives of the people they love who are not where the loving person needs them to be. It's for the parent who can't see what's going on inside the scary chosen child, the spouse who can't see what's going on inside the closed-off and distant partner, and the person who loves the lost child but can't see what's going on in the far country. I want to say something very specific and personal to the person whose most pressing experience of the invisible is seeing someone they care about go through something really hard or really dangerous. I'm in the interior of the specific and particular person you love. I'm not waiting to be invited before I enter. And I'm not missing from the interior of the free person because that person's freedom makes my presence dependent on the invitation. Because I respect the freedom of the person whose freedom I work in rather than around, I am truly and specifically present in their inner self. I speak into the inner self of that freedom with the specific, quiet, and sometimes long-lasting working of someone who knows the inner from the inner. This doesn't look like it will work. It's happening inside the very specific and very particular person you love, in parts of their interior that you can't see from the outside of their freedom. The person you love is already going through the work on the inside. It has been going on. In the last prayer, you brought the person you love to me, but it was already happening. This situation calls for a certain kind of costly trust that lets someone you care about go from you controlling the outcome of their freedom to someone else who is working on the invisible part of their freedom more effectively and honestly than you are controlling what you can see about their outside circumstances. Getting rid of someone you love does not mean leaving them behind. Trusting that the person inside the person I love can do more than I can is a specific and faith-requiring choice. It's more than managing what I can see about their outside circumstances is producing. In the comments, you can never lose what God holds. Say that as a statement of your specific and personal trust in the holding of the specific and particular people you love but can't reach. Speaking of healing, this part of the message is especially important to me because the invisible holding is perhaps most directly and personally relevant when it comes to the healing that is going on below the surface of what can be seen. Healing usually happens in stages that aren't all visible at the same time from the aspect of the thing that is being healed. This is true whether it's healing of the body, healing of the soul, or healing of the specific wound in the mind that a specific and difficult experience caused. I work with the body I made from the inside, through its own unique and complicated systems. When I work on healing a certain body in a certain situation, I'm using the systems I created to help the body heal itself. And the engagement usually takes place in parts of the body that can't be seen from the point of view of experiencing the signs and symptoms of a health problem. Healing at the cell level comes before healing at the tissue level, which comes before healing at the organ level, which comes before healing at the symptom level. The body is actually healing itself before the visible signs of healing show up in a way that can be felt from the inside of the person with the specific health problem. There is an invisible part of the interior where the healing of the soul-level wound really takes place. It happens slowly, gradually, and below the surface, replacing the false and painful things that the wound put in place with specific and true things that the healing is putting in their place in the interior. This is what happens before the healing shows up on the surface. It means that the wound is slowly losing its grip on the specific dimensions of the inside. The wound at the soul level is already getting better. It is in the invisible part of what is really going on inside the person who is bringing the hurt inside to the person who holds what can't be seen. Type below the surface. He's healing things I can't see in the comments. That should be your statement of faith-based trust in the real healing that is happening in the body, the soul, and the spirit, but can't be seen from the inside of the specific health problem or soul-level wound. This part of the message is about the invisible protection. One of the most important and consistently underappreciated parts of what I do as the invisible holdover of your specific and particular situation is the specific and active and genuinely engaged work of protecting, guarding, and preventing the specific and particular things that would have happened in the visible dimension of your life if the invisible holding had not been actively present in the invisible dimension of it. Protection that can be seen is naturally the least visible of the invisible holding dimensions. This is because things that are stopped from coming tend to not leave clear signs that they were stopped. I want you to think about the specifics of your life's history and the specifics of the things that might have happened but did not. The relationship that not only broke, but could have broken in a way that would have been worse for the long term. They were having health problems that could have gotten worse. It's possible that the financial situation could have gotten even worse. The individual whose decisions could have led to worse outcomes. None of these avoided outcomes stick out clearly in the memory of the person who is looking for proof of my faithfulness in the specific and particular history of their life. This is because the avoided outcome doesn't leave any evidence that would allow the person living the protected life to understand that it was avoided. It's like the raids on Syria that never came back in your life. The specific harms that did not happen. The specific and unique events that would have led to the worst possible outcome in your life, but did not. The changes that could have made things worse. These outcomes that were avoided are the visible form of invisible protection. They are the signs of the specific and active protection that worked in the invisible part of your whole life. Type, I walk by faith, not by sight, all year long in the comments. That should be your statement of specific faith-based trust in the invisible protection that is already at work in the invisible part of your unique situation and life. I want to use the specific power of my word to talk about the holding that can't be seen. I told them through Paul in the second letter to the Corinthians. We don't look at what we can see, but at what we can't see. Things that can be seen change over time, but things that can't be seen last forever. Things that can't be seen last forever. They're not temporary or contingent, and they're not in the minor or peripheral realm. The eternal part of full reality is what can't be seen. It's the part that determines the full and complete truth of what is really happening. In the letter to the Romans, I said this through Paul. And we know that all things work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to His plan. That which includes the really hard, really painful, really unresolved, really scary, really pressing things is included in everything. What is being said is that all of those things are working together for the real good by the one who holds what can't be seen. I told the prophet Jeremiah, "For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans for good and not for evil, to give you a future and hope." I didn't say, "I hope the plans are good." I know. In the present tense, already. No one can see the plans because they have already been made and are being worked on in a different dimension. I told them through the person who wrote the letter, "Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not seen." The belief in things that can't be seen, or the faith that is needed for invisible holding, is the real, sometimes hard, and sometimes expensive belief in the reality of things that can't be seen right now from the inside of a difficult, unresolved situation. I told the psalmist, "The Lord is near to all who call on Him, to all who call on him in truth. The Lord is close, in a specific way, to each person who calls on him in truth. And the real calling is the honest, real calling of the person who is bringing what is really inside them to the real, close one. If you type, "I see the invisible through the eyes of faith" in the comments, that should be your statement of specific, Bible-based trust in what the invisible holds. And if this message has helped you find your way, made you stronger, or seen your path more clearly, please like, subscribe, share, and support this ministry through the link below. That way, other people can get this message at the right time. Talking about the anxiety that the invisible causes is important, because not all of the anxiety that the invisible causes is anxiety about specific things that are seen and really dangerous. Some of the worst and most draining anxiety is the kind that comes from things that can't be seen. This is the specific and unique anxiety that comes from not being able to see what is really going on in the parts of the situation that can't be seen from the inside. The first specific thing I want to say to someone who is anxious about the invisible is that the invisible is not mostly filled with the scary things that their anxious mind is putting there, because they can't see the information that would correct their placement. I am the main thing that occupies the invisible: my presence, my work, my holding, my protecting, my healing, and my purposeful engagement with the whole truth of the situation. Anxiety creates specific threatening images in the invisible space of the unknown. These images are not accurate representations of what the invisible really holds, but rather the anxious mind's version of what it holds. The second thing I want to say to someone who is anxious about the invisible is that anxiety about the invisible tends to be worst when there isn't much information available about the situation, and there is a big difference between what people on the inside can see and what is really happening. Anxiety tends to fill the gap with scary ideas from the worst-case imagination. The specific and practical response is to choose to trust the person who is in the gap based on evidence. Third thing I want to say about the anxiety of the invisible is that trusting that the invisible will hold is a direct way to deal with this anxiety, while solving the visible parts of the problem is not. When you trust that the person who holds what you're anxious about knows everything, you can ease your anxiety about not knowing. Engaging with the visible evidence of my faithfulness in the specific and particular history of the specific and particular person is the most immediate way for me to deal with the anxiety of the invisible. The second is deliberately immersing oneself in the specific and authoritative statements of my word about the holding's reality, character, purpose, and completeness. Finally, the third is choosing to pay attention to the present moment on purpose. Being present in the present moment of the present day, instead of worrying about the imagined future that you can't see, is something you choose to do every day. The type of work he does in the comments is invisible, but brings about what can be seen. That should be your statement of the specific, evidence-based, Bible-based, and personally practiced trust in the invisible holding that directly and specifically addresses the anxiety of the invisible with a truly accurate account of what the invisible actually holds. This part of the message is about identity, because the invisible identity is one of the most important parts of the invisible holding, the unique, permanent, and exact identity of the unique person in front of me that exists in the invisible realm of their true self, the identity that gets hidden and pushed against by the visible identity that the unique circumstances of this hard season force on people. When someone is going through a hard time, Their visible circumstances tend to reveal who they really are through what is happening to them and around them instead of who they really are in their full reality, which includes the invisible part. When someone's relationship is really having trouble, they often hear from their physical surroundings that they are not good enough for the relationship or not worthy of the connection. People whose work doesn't show any visible results are more likely to hear a specific word that describes them as someone whose contribution is not valuable. People whose health is getting in the way of their body's normal functions tend to hear a certain word that describes them as someone who is limited or diminished. All of these words about the person's identity that come from things that can be seen are the words of the situations, not the words of the person whose identity is invisible, true, and permanent. We are going from being worried to being spiritually in charge. Right now, in the middle of your journey, choose to believe the truth of who you are over what is happening right now. Type, "What God is doing does not depend on my circumstances," in the comments. You're letting go of the spirit of anxiety by making this statement. This lets your true identity as the beloved come out. The identity of the beloved is the personal and unique identity of the person who is hearing these words, not the conditionally beloved, whose belovedness depends on how well the relationship works, how well the job goes, how well the money is managed, or how good the health is. Someone who is deeply, permanently, completely, and unconditionally loved. The identity of the purposefully made is the same as the identity of the unique and specific person, that which was specifically and on purpose made. The person whose unique gifts, history, wounds, and ability to do the ministry that their unique life is shaping them for was carefully planned and purposely made by the one who made them. The invisible identity of the unique and specific person is also the identity of the truly held and truly accompanied, not the one who is ultimately alone and going through the really hard and really demanding season without the real, specific, and personally invested support of the one who holds everything, the specifically and genuinely held and genuinely accompanied. Type, "What God is doing does not depend on my circumstances," in the comments. That should be your statement of the specific and identity-forming truth, that what you can see is not the full picture of who you are and what is really going on in the invisible parts of your life. In this part of the message, I want to talk about the cloud of witnesses, because the holding of what you can't see that is already there is not possible without the community of the already. Through the specific and particular of the people who have already been through their own versions of the really hard and really unresolved season, trust that something is working behind the scenes. This company is talked about in the letter to the Hebrews in a way that is both striking to look at and practical to feel good about, because there is such a large cloud of witnesses around us. When someone is on a path, surrounding means not ahead of them, but around them at that very moment when they are having a hard time finding their way. The group of witnesses who are actually traveling with the ship, instead of just having been there before it. There are many people in the cloud, like Abel, Noah, Abraham, Moses, the 3 young men in the furnace, the disciples on the road to Emmaus, David in the Psalms, and every other person whose story of how the invisible holding turned into something visible is told in the 11th chapter of the letter to the Hebrews and in the history of my relationship with my people. Each of their unique testimonies is a unique and personal account of how the invisible holding found its way into the visible form. It was clear from the specific and personal experience of the truly trusting, the truly costly, and the truly sustained navigation of the not yet visible that the trust in the invisible holding was, in fact, worthwhile. The cloud of witnesses around the navigation shows that it is not being done by one person. People around the specific and particular person say that their trust in the invisible is not the unique, self-centered, and possibly foolish confidence of that specific and particular person who is trusting what can't be seen without the help of others who have also trusted what they couldn't see. People in the area say that trusting in the invisible holding is a specific form of faith that has been practiced by a huge group of faithful people from all different generations, cultures, and backgrounds. Type, "I give up what I can see to trust God who is invisible," in the comments. That should be your statement of the specific and cloud of witnesses-based choice to trust the holding that can't be seen. I'd like to talk about the moment when something that can't be seen becomes clear, about what the visible expression of the invisible working looks like when it finally takes on the exact form that lets you see it from the inside. That which is invisible does lead to what can be seen, and what can be seen is the result of the invisible working. There are certain qualities that can be recognized when it comes in the specific form that it really takes. The first is the quality of being on time when it wasn't expected. The visible expression showing up at the exact moment of greatest need, not at the time that the person in charge of the visible dimensions was working hardest to make it happen. The second unique quality that stands out is the quality of the unexpected shape, the visible expression showing up in a very specific way that the person in charge of the visible aspects would not have thought was the most likely or available form. The manna wasn't the sort of food that the people would have thought of right away. The ravens that brought bread and meat to Elijah were not the first thing that came to mind when Elijah thought of food. The third, clear and noticeable quality is the quality of having too much, which is what usually happens when visible expression shows up in the form that is given. A small but sufficient amount of food was given to the 5,000 people. They were all fed and happy, and the pieces that were left over were more than what was originally given. This is the fourth clear and recognizable quality, the quality of personal and clear recognition that often comes with receiving visible expression. That very clear feeling inside the person who is receiving it, that this is what was being held in the invisible dimension. Type in the comments that God does most of his work in the unseen world. That should be your statement of the specific truth that can change your situation that you can't see. I want to give you something useful and specific that you can use in the days to come. The first practice that you do every day is to focus on the invisible in the morning. At the start of each day, the short, honest, and personally aimed choice to recognize that what can't be seen in this particular situation is already truly held by the one who holds everything. The second daily practice is to intentionally and specifically notice the small, often missed ways that the invisible works in the everyday moments of the day. The third daily practice is to deliberately remember one specific event in the life of that person in which the invisible worked its way out into the visible world. The fourth thing that you should do every day is to carefully read and think about one passage of Scripture that speaks directly and specifically about the idea of the invisible holding. The fifth daily practice is intentional community with intentional people who trust the invisible holding or have been through the invisible holding. The sixth daily practice is releasing the specific and particular things, people and situations of the day into the hands of the one who holds what can't be seen through the hours of the night. This should be done on purpose at the end of each day. Type 1. I'm calm because I know he knows something I can't see in the comments. That should be your definite statement of trust in the invisible holding that is based in reality and practiced every day. And if this message has helped you find your way, made you stronger, or seen your path more clearly, please like, subscribe, share, and support this ministry through the link below. That way, other people can get this message at the right time. Right now, I want to talk directly about the specific situations of the specific people who are reading this message. For the person who can't see the healing taking place in the relationship, I say that the healing is taking place in the full reality of that relationship, which can't be seen. I am working on the inside of everyone involved. From your specific outside position, you can't see the healing yet. The healing is taking place in a part of reality that can't be seen. I already have it in my hands. For the person who can't see the provision, I say that the provision for their specific and particular need is being held in the invisible dimension and is already moving toward their specific and particular need. I already have the provision in my hands. To the person who can't see the calling being prepared, I say, the calling I put in you when I made you is being worked toward in the invisible dimension of your full reality. In this season and in this life, the specific and particular preparation for the calling is what the person is going through during the specific and particular hard and expensive season. Please know that your prayer has been heard, even if you can't see it. The answer is being worked on in the dimension of the full reality of this very specific situation. I tell the person who can't see the presence that it's there. Jake didn't know I was at Bethel right away. Before the three young men got to the other side, I was already in the fire. I'm in your very own interior at this very own moment of very own silence. The presence is as full, clear, and personal as it has ever been in the relationship between that specific person and me. He sees the whole picture, but I can only see parts of it in the comments. That should be your statement of specific, personal, and directly aimed trust in the holding that you can't see. Now I want to talk directly about the lies that have been stopping real and long-lasting trust in the invisible holding. I disagree with the lie that says the invisible working isn't there because it can't be seen. The lack of visible proof of the working is not the same as the working not being there. There is no such thing as absent working. I disagree with the lie that says the holding has ended because there is no visible proof of a good outcome yet. The holding is still going on. The working never stops. The expression that can't be seen yet isn't proof that the holding has ended. For the lie that says the invisible holding isn't specifically aimed at your situation because it's too small or too normal, I say that the one who holds everything is just as involved, just as specific, just as active, just as on purpose, and just as loving in the specific and normal situation as it is in the specific and extraordinary one. I count the head hairs. When the sparrow falls, I can see it. I disagree with the lie that says the holding that can't be seen isn't really loving because if it were loving, the visible expression would have arrived in the exact form that was hoped for by now. I say that a truly loving holding isn't the one that makes the visible expression that was hoped for at the exact time that was hoped for. It's the one that is genuinely aimed at the specific, complete, long-term good. I disagree with the lie that says trusting in the invisible holding is the stupid and unfounded faith of someone who hasn't been through enough. I believe that trusting in the invisible holding is the specific, evidence-based and truly founded faith of someone who has seen the whole picture. I tell all of you that what you can't see is already in my hands. There is a real hold. It really does work. Put your trust in the person who fully sees and holds what you can't see. In the comments, type that every doubt about what can't be seen falls short of his truth. That should be your statement, that the specific truth is addressing the specific lies. I want to take you to a real time when you trusted something that you couldn't see. I want you to name, just to yourself and to me, the specific and particular thing that you can't see, that is pressing hardest on your inside, at this very moment, in this very difficult and uncertain time you are going through. Give it a name, not to practice the pain of what isn't seen yet, but to bring what is specific and truly invisible into this meeting with the person who wants you to trust what you can't see. Now pay attention to what I have to say, to the specific invisible person you named. I'm already there in the dimension of the full reality of the specific thing you named that you can't see from where you are now. That which is specifically and uniquely invisible in your present moment is not the empty and potentially dangerous space of the truly unholding. It is the land that I physically and actively hold in the same way that I hold any other specific thing in the full reality of everything that is really happening. Now, no matter what the real state of the real person who has named the specific and particular invisible of the real moment is from where you are, turn toward me. The honest, sometimes hard, sometimes scary and sometimes worn-out state of mind of someone who is truly in the unique, difficult, uncertain, and not yet seen season. Chosen one, you did not find this by accident. God placed you here. He knew your name before this video began, and right now He is calling you further into a family of believers who walk this road together every single day. The link is in the description. Come and find your people, and if He is nudging you to give, that nudge is Him. Every seed you plant, He multiplies. God bless you, beloved. We are waiting. Now, accept what I'm putting in your hands at this very moment when you are truly turning toward me. The real and specific feeling of not being completely alone in the specific and particular moment that can't be seen or touched. The unique, present, and real quality of the accompanied. That person who is in the really hard, really uncertain, really not yet seen interior and is not by themselves in it. Take it. That's the truth. It's true. Right now, pick the trust, not the complete, immediate, and fully confident trust. The real, present, honest, and sometimes hard-won trust of the person who is choosing to trust something that they can't see. I open my faith-filled eyes to see what He's doing in the comments. Be that your statement of this specific, present, real, and personally aimed choice to trust in things that can't be seen. I want to pray over you right now that you can speak a declaration that includes everything we've talked about so far. I speak over your specific and particular invisible, and I say it really did happen, not hypothetically held or conditionally held, but truly, fully, continuously, specifically, purposefully, and lovingly held by the one whose holding is as full, specific, active, purposeful, and loving as the character of the one who holds everything. I speak over the invisible relationship and declare that the healing of that specific relationship is being held in the invisible dimension of the full reality of the relationship, with the work being done on the inside of each person involved in the relationship, in the invisible dimension of their own free will. I speak over the invisible provision and declare that the invisible provision is truly holding on to and moving toward the specific and particular need from the invisible dimension of the full reality. My words cover the unseen work that is happening in the lives of the people you care about. And I declare that the work that is happening inside each of those specific people is real and happening in the unseen part of their full reality. I speak over the future that can't be seen, and I say that it is truly held and truly being prepared by the one who is already there, making the specific plans, relationships, openings, and expressions of the specific calling. I speak over the invisible presence and declare it to be everlastingly present, just as truly present, fully present, specifically and personally present, as it was at any point in the unique relationship between that unique person and the one who holds everything. And on top of all that, I say one last time, the main and most important part of this message: I already have what you can't see in my hands. Each and every invisible part of each and every situation and person reading these words is already being held by the one who holds everything in the invisible part of the full reality of each and every situation in life. There is a real hold. It really does work. When someone asks you to trust something you can't see, they should do so with someone who fully understands and works with it. This person should have the character traits that make them trustworthy with the specific and unique person who is being asked to trust what they can't see. Type, Lord, I trust you with everything I can't see in the comments. That should be your statement that you accept this prayer. This trust was very specific, personal, and aimed straight at the invisible holding. Dear beloved, if this video reached you today, know this: God sent it. He does not make mistakes, and He does not lead His chosen ones by accident. We want to be transparent with you, family. These videos bring us no income. Every word, every prayer, every message, created purely as an offering to God and a gift to you. It is your generous hearts, your small seeds of love, that make this ministry possible. Without you, this voice goes silent. So from our hearts to yours, thank you. God sees every gift, and God will not forget. There is a family He is calling you into. Brothers and sisters who arrived broken, arrived searching, and found not just answers, but belonging. A place where the chosen gather, where the faithful are known by name. God says, come home. The link is in the description. Your family is waiting, beloved. You were always meant to find us. These are the last few minutes of our time together. To end, I'd like to send you into the real, daily, specific, and sometimes really expensive practice of trusting what you can't see. I already have what you can't see in my hands. Your specific and particular situation is invisible. There is a relationship that isn't healing in the visible form, provision that hasn't arrived in the visible form, a person you love who isn't where you need them to be in the visible form, a calling that hasn't yet been expressed in the fruitful and visible form, health that hasn't been restored in the form, and health that hasn't been restored in the vine that holds everything together. This isn't perceptible in the familiar, felt, and intimate form that you already had. Today, in this very present moment, in the very real but invisible part of your very real and unique life and situation, move forward with the morning orientation to the invisible. Notice things every day as planned. Go ahead and remember every day. Move forward with reading the Bible every day. Carry on with your planned and regular interaction with the specific and unique community of the trusting. Continue letting go every day at the end of the day into the holding that you can't see. Also, move forward while being honest about the fact that practicing trust in an invisible holding will not always feel like trust that is fully settled, sure of itself, and emotionally resolved. Also, know that the person you trust in the invisible holding is not just sitting back and waiting for you to fully trust them before they interact with the fullest expression of the invisible holding. He has already given it his all. The holding that is invisible is already as complete, specific, active, purposeful, and loving as the person who holds everything is. Individuals who trust in the invisible holding are linked to the holding that was already fully operational before the trust was most recently expressed. What you can't see is already being held by me in a way that is full, complete, specific, active, purposeful, and loving. This is how the character of the one who holds all things makes the holding of every specific and particular situation, of every specific and particular person, be held by the one who holds all things. Believe in things you can't see. There is a real hold. It really does work. But the person who holds what you can't see is already there, involved, working, and holding with all the weight of his character that makes him truly and completely trustworthy, with the specific and particular invisible of the specific and particular person who is being asked to trust what can't be seen in this specific and present, truly hard, uncertain, and not yet visible moment. When you type something that can't be seen, the person who can see everything already has it as your final statement. Let that be the statement you carry with you from this meeting into the real days, hours, and practice of trusting the invisible holding that is truly available to the unique person who has received these words and is now being sent into the real world from trusting what can't be seen. And if this message has helped you find your way, made you stronger, or seen your path more clearly, please like, subscribe, share, and support this ministry through the link below. That way, other people can get this message at the right time.